Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. Let me tell y'all something, right? Sebastian Fundora just pulled out of the Keith Thurman fight. I guess they're trying to reschedule it or whatever, but let me tell you something. Talk about putting duck sauce on the fried rice. You trying to make me believe Sebastian Fundora hurt his hand? I know what the problem is. Keith Thurman is the problem. You listen to what Bomac and Crawford's team said years ago about which fight they think would be the most difficult. Now, of course, they believe they will win, but they said they thought Keith Thurman would be a big challenge. And they said because of his lateral movement and his skills. You know, they got something out that we used to say back in the day. I know the young people don't say that shit no more. All they talking about is for real, for real, for real, for real, blue hat, blue hat. We used to say something called real recognizes real. And I think Crawford, for his team to say that, you got to put a lot of respect on Thurman's name. But Thurman's been out the sport for a while. Now he's come back. And if I was Fundora and Fundora's team, I'd be shitting some bricks from way up high, in the sky high. When you see Keith Thurman come back after being inactive and knock out a young, strong Brock Jarvis the way he did. Can Sebastian Fundora fight? Yeah, he can fight, man. Would he have beat Keith Thurman? I told you, I thought Keith Thurman would beat him. But I did say I think that Fundora staying behind that jab, boxing smart, and Fundora would win. But I just know Fundora's not a guy who's patient and calculated and cerebral. Fundora gets in the ring and he turns into Aesop Pitbull Cruz and becomes compartmentalized and small and just starts free swinging. He's more of a brawler. And then Keith Thurman, they're trying to do him dirty. You know what this reminds me of? Kind of Danny Garcia when he was supposed to fight Kambosos. And then there was an issue with fighting on that platform. Supposed to have Mark Anthony and Jennifer Lopez and everybody on there. I forgot the name of the platform. But anyway, the fight was on, the fight was off, the fight was on, the fight was off. But Teofimo had to try to maintain his conditioning and he had to try to stay around that weight, fight weight for a long time. When I'm talking about a long time, I'm not talking about a couple additional weeks. I'm talking about months and months and months. So that affected him. And I can't help but think with Keith Thurman, Fundora and his team are trying to get an upper hand by causing Keith Thurman to try to recalibrate himself. Because, you know, I don't know about you all, right? I used to be a project manager. When you're moving a project along, like these guys are moving along, because they're basically running projects. They're basically managing projects. Their training camps are projects. And you got phases, right? But in project management, when you gotten beyond the first phase of the project and you got a little bit of overlap there because you're ahead of the game, and then you can start the second phase of the project with the right coordination and shit. It's hard for you to be at, let's say, like a 5-phase project to be in the 4th phase and then be told, hey, you need to go back or slow this thing down because we can't support that output date. You like, what? We got an output date here that we've been working on for months, man. Sometimes years. And now here we are towards I'd say at 75% completion. We're full steam ahead, meeting all of our objectives, all of our milestones. Shit, we're ready to deliver this end product. And you come and tell me, nah, the output date of, let's just say 1 November. we need you guys to slow this down because we can't support the output date or accept whatever it is that you're working on until 1 December. You like November, then 1 December, so I got to figure out what to do in the next 30 days to keep my guys busy. It's just like with boxing. You got to, Keith Thurman, you got to figure out what to do for the next however many days or months to keep his body conditioned to where he's peaking in training camp to try to maintain his peak without starting to fall off and lose motivation. This shit right here is horrible, man. Nasty business, you know what I'm saying? But hey, secret society's in full effect, and that's just how it goes. But don't for a second think that Keith Thurman, like, I'll be honest with you, if anyone would have had an injury, if you would have told me someone was going to get injured, I would have thought it would have been, what's his name, Keith Thurman. I wouldn't have thought it would have been Fundora. But, you know, I don't believe the injury. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. But what I'll tell you is, maybe Fundora was out there. Maybe Fundora's just been in too many tough fights, you know what I mean? Because in every fight Fundora's in, people keep forgetting Fundora, when he gets in fights, he's not a master boxer. He's not floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee, taking little to no damage. In every fight, he does a lot of damage to opponents, but he takes a lot of damage. I would not be surprised if all of a sudden Fundora starts having injuries and more prone to injury, and there's no way in the world he could come into a Keith Thurman fight with a healthy Keith Thurman and be confident. Ain't no way he could come into that fight and be confident. I think Keith Thurman puts the bing-bings on him. But I do think they're trying to figure out a way to get an upper hand on him. But that being said, when you look at this shit, anyone talking about how Fundora's a monster, Fundora's a beast, Fundora is this, look, I think he has a potential to be that way, but if he's going to be prone to injury now and, you know, pulling out of fights and shit, that's not a good sign. So, yeah, Fundora definitely shouldn't be in the conversation as the possible future king of 154. Fundora may need to get his ass hooked up with hospice and get put into the old folks home already, because he's too tall, long, and lanky to be injury prone the way he is and to be pulling out of fights. I mean, he's a champion. They need to figure this shit out. But it sucks because Keith Thurman, he comes back, he gets injured, comes back again, the fight with Fundora. Everything keeps falling apart with Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman just can't seem to get the stars lined up to really continue his career. Then goddamn Danny Garcia decided he doesn't want to jump in for Fundora and fight Keith Thurman. You know why he doesn't want to? Because he knows he'll lose. At this point in his career, he knows he can't beat Keith Thurman. Y'all pay attention. There's a lot of fighters. You know who's one fighter who would probably jump in? But even though it probably wouldn't be smart because he got something lined up with Rolly. If Manny Pacquiao didn't have nothing lined up, I bet you Manny Pacquiao would jump in. Old man Pacquiao from the Serengeti province. He would jump his old ass in there and scrap Keith Thurman again. You better believe he would. But that ain't going to happen. So this just lets you know that these fighters today, they ain't built for it tough like them cats from the old school. But I would like to see somebody fill in, but it looks like it, you know, it may not happen anyway. By the time I post this video, who knows? They probably do have somebody who filled in, and this video will look like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You probably think I don't know what the hell I'm talking about anyway. But anyway, I'm about to run up in here at Home Depot. I got to get these screws and put this door back on in one of the bathrooms. Well, the door's still on, but some of the screws came out. But yeah, man, Fundora putting duck sauce on that fried rice. You got to show me some image. I don't even want to see x-rays. I don't want to see nothing. Yeah, show me. They got to prove to me that Fundora has a legitimate injury, because I just don't buy the shit. Anyway, Keith Thurman all the way, man. I got Keith Thurman clipping Fundora no matter when they fight. Matter of fact, I'm rooting for him now more than ever. More than ever. I hope if they do fight, it gets pushed back, whatever, I hope he knocks Fundora's ass out. Let Keith Thurman, Keith Thurman won't play no games. Keith one time's motivated. He wants to be a champion again. He wants to do big things. He got everything that it takes. And boy, I just think we would we would have been shouting timber if he and Fundora had kept that fight day. But let's see what the future holds. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.